Welcome to the latest midweek car competition judging video here at BOTB. We'd now like to hand over to today's lawyer from Onside Law who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name is Hannah Kent from Onside Law and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm that the competition data has already been sent to the auditing company ASX, and I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name is Matt Cannon. I'm a senior county referee and footballer.
I'm Nigel Hicks. I've been a Supply League match official for the best part of 30 years and I'm an experienced football administrator.
Liam Walsh. I'm currently an FA observer. I'm also a retired referee and head coach for the Middlesex Referees Academy.
Hi, I'm Jenna Scalacci, retired professional footballer. I'm now a head coach in a Tottenham football programme.
Hi, my name is Kieran Fitzgibbon. I've played football for more than 30 years and I'm now a senior county referee.
Good morning, my name's Hugh Gilroy. I'm a referee, a mentor, tutor and observer.
Good morning, my name is Alain Goma. I'm an ex-professional football player. I've played for Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle and Fulham.
Hi, my name is Ari Mendonca. I've been involved in football for over 30 years, firstly as a player and then as a referee.
Hi, my name's Renee Hector. I play football for Watford FC Women and I'm a coach for Tottenham Hotspur Foundation.
Joe Thompson, ex-professional footballer and now your BBC Squad Goals presenter.
Okay, judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 10 individual selections.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Matt.
Morning. So we've got quite an interesting photo that we're looking and judging at today. I'll draw some lines up. We've got this player is looking down to varying different degrees, with Jenna's choice at the top and mine at the bottom. And then we have this player who looks like he's been sort of manhandled, we can't really see his eye, and he's looking up, potentially up to Hugh and as far down as Nigel's here. So there's a very large spread from this guy, but I imagine it's because we can't actually see his pupil very well. And the guy on the right, we've got two good eyes from him. And again, I'll draw his lines up when we've got Nigel ever so slightly at the bottom, and I will go slightly higher up to Jenna's. So we've got a pretty big spread from all three of the players that we can see in shot. And as I said, if we put the magnifier over the calculated average, there's four of us that are quite a way outside. I'll come straight to you, Joe. There's the pink cross there, and welcome back. I'll put the highlighter over yours. Could you talk me through how you've seen this photo?
Yeah, you know, I'm looking at it as a picture as a whole. I feel like the player in white is obviously about to receive the ball from a lofted height. And the player behind him, the defender, can obviously see it a little bit more clearer. And then the player on the right-hand side in the red is obviously slightly in the background and is almost assessing it from slightly further out. So that's why I've chosen to go with my cross there, as in the ball's going to be landing in and around the player's chest or midriff area.
Yeah, and I haven't said my part, but that's exactly how I saw it as well. I'm obviously have the ball closer to the player in white, and that's principally because his facial expression look like it's absolutely imminent to me. Nigel, I'll come to you next. You're the green cross there. You're in sort of line with both myself and Joe, and at the bottom of the group of choices. There you are highlighted.
Yeah.
What did you see in the photo?
I felt the ball's probably bouncing. It's either on the rise or just dropping. Player in white is backing into the player in red, try and give himself some space to be able to receive that ball in the way he feels most comfortable. I took a lot. I'm taking most of it from the player's eye lines. If I'm honest, I felt the player on the on our left in red, I feel is looking down, not overly steeply, but you can see the top of his eyelid and you can see some of his eye. I think if he was looking up, you'd be able to see the white under his arm. We can't see that. So for me, he's looking down, not drastically, because he wouldn't be able to see through the player in white, but he's looking over the top of his head. Player in white, I feel he's looking slightly up, but not massively. As you say, we can't see much of his eye. But I feel if he was looking up steeply, then his head would be tilted, or you'd be able to see the bottom of his eye there. And again, player on the right, I feel from his eyes, we can't see much of his eyelid, but I feel he's looking just slightly down.
Yeah, and as Joe said, that he's obviously slightly in the background, although he's not blurred.
He is, yeah.
He is slightly behind, so he's looking forward of himself. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So Hugh, you're the purple cross there on the left, sort of in line with my own, but higher up. I'll put the magnifier over it. How did you see the picture?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, for me, I just wasn't sure whether the player in white was he's twisted, his body's in an unusual position. I don't think it's just from the defender pushing him in the back. So I wasn't sure whether he was kind of going to turn and try and run behind or actually duck and play this. But for me, from his eye line, he was looking up relatively steeply. His head's back slightly, and I think his eye's looking up from that angle. I agree the player in red is looking down for me, but I think he's also stood up quite tall. So down for me meets kind of where he's looking through the purple cross. And I just felt, given that he's fouling him and the player at the front is starting to move, I felt was close to them in playing distance. The other player for me, I was just looking, so I didn't take a lot from him.
Yeah, thank you very much. Jenna, I'll come to you next. You're in sort of a rough line up from the white player beyond Hugh's cross. There you are, the dark blue cross, and you're the highest by some degree. How did you see the scenario of what was going on in the shot?
I felt the ball was coming into the player in white. He was using his body. He's got a strong body position there to protect himself in between the player and the ball coming in. I felt the player in red who's making contact with him is very rigid in his body position. I do feel he's looking down, but not too drastically down. That's where I've got my height from. The player in red with the two clear eyes, I just felt he was on looking. I didn't take much from his eye line at all.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then I'll come to sort of the main group, apart from Joe's obviously at the bottom of the main group. I'll come to you first, Ari. There's your dark pink cross, just above the average there. I will highlight yours. How did you see this?
Thanks, Matt. Well, I have the same opinion as Nigel. I felt that this is a bouncing ball. The player in white, he feels before the ball comes down, he needs a bit more of space. So he's backtracking and he's forcing the contact with the player in red. The player on the right side in red, the same as Jen, I feel that he's just on looking, he's further in the picture. He's just observing what's going to happen after. When I drew my eye line on the player in white, I felt that he's looking slightly in a 45 degree. That's why I came to that to my position, and playing in red behind him. I didn't felt he was looking that steeply down. That's why I came to my position over there.
Okay, so you came to sort of your height of the white player because of sort of we can't see his eye and it's sort of 45 degrees off his forehead.
And the shape of his, the way his head is his position, I felt that it was the right approach.
No, sure, thank you. And just below you, Ari, is Rene. There you are. You're the lime green cross today. I'll highlight yours. Did you see it any differently?
No, very similar to what Ari said, to be honest. I do feel like the player in white is clearly backing in to the defender. I believe in those scenarios, it's likely to be a bouncing ball, but it could be sort of like a chipped or lofted ball. And I feel like he's just trying to back into the player to create more space to either bring it down with his chest or his thigh. We don't really know that. The player in the background, as we've said, he is in the background, so I do think it is a bit more open to interpretation, a bit more peripheral, if you like. So I haven't taken much from his eye line. I don't feel like either of the two main players are off the floor. But obviously the taller player, I think it is clear that he is looking down. So I just cross-referenced where I felt like both their eye lines were, and that's why I came to the conclusion with my cross one.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Rene. And just below you, Alain, there you are, the light blue cross. Have you seen it the same as Rene or differently, Harry?
Yeah.
Sorry, Alain.
No, same to Rene. I think the ball is coming, probably from the right, with a bit of height. I think that the play in white, I think he's got two options. Either he's gonna chase the ball, control it, and wait for some support, or he's gonna flick it. As you see, his right arm is not fully open, so he might actually flick the ball. But looking at the play on the left in red, I think he's looking down towards the ball. Is I think, kind of diagonally. What about the player in the background? I didn't take much information from him. As someone mentioned, he's a bit in the background. So, but I think he's looking slightly up anyway.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Liam, there you are, the yellow cross, just to the bottom and the right of this sort of the main cluster, so to speak. How did you view this?
Yes, thanks. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Different to my colleagues, I felt, and I feel with all pictures, you've got to take evidence from the eyes and the head angles, really, is what we're looking at, because we're looking for the centre of the ball. Now, the only two clear eyes we got is the red guy on the right. So I looked at him and I I've gone just off horizontal. I felt there's just a little bit of white. I feel that he's standing back a bit. We've got a 2D picture, but I feel there's a little bit of white under his eyes. So I've just got a little bit of height on. He's just off horizontal for me. And then I cross-referenced that mainly with the guy in white. And going back to what Harry said, I went with his eye is slightly blurred, but I went with his head angle, and that's where I've crossed. And then I've looked at, can the guy in red on the left, can he clearly see where I'm crossing those two reference points? And he could. And again, as I think a couple of guys have referred to, he's looking down, but not over steeply. And that's where I've come to.
Yeah, thank you. Very succinctly and totally understood. And lastly, Kieran, you're nearest this particular calculated average there, your orange cross. I'll highlight yours. How did you see this? High ball, bouncing ball?
Thanks, Matt. I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure exactly how the ball is coming in. I agree with sort of mainly with Rene and the other colleagues who agreed with Rene. I think the player on the right is just unlooking. So although his eye, we've got the clearest eyes from him, I think he may be looking just at the players. It's not clear. So I've therefore looked at what the other two players are doing. I think the player in white is backing into the player in red. I think he's looking to try and chest the ball. It doesn't look like he's trying to make a header. I suspect that because he's backed in and this looks like there's been contact already made, that could be a reason why his body position, his arms are not quite where you'd expect to be to make a chest. So it could be he's going to have to readjust himself. It doesn't look like he's going to flick the ball on for me with his head position. So I took the two heads on the left from the player in red and white that are together, and again, made a little bit of a guess because we can't see the eyes clearly. I felt the player in white's head is slightly tilted back, so that's why I think it's a little bit upward from him, but not quite as steeply as some of my colleagues. And likewise with the player in red, he looked like he's looking downwards, but then I had to think about realistically where the ball might be. And I think the player in white, if he was able to move backwards, would look to chest this ball down. So that's why I placed my cross there.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we've got some differing opinions to sort of balls coming in sort of high, which I think because Joe was one of those. We got a few people saying that it's possible that the ball was bouncing, and I think Alain said it was ball was coming in from the right as we're looking at the photo. Obviously, we've got the two clear eyes from this player in the background red, and again, a number of you have said that you've just believed he's on looking and not looking at the ball. And I think that helps to explain the spread up and down of the choices we've got here. And as you see, we've got a big spread from all three different players. So with this calculated average here, if I put the magnifier over it, you see there's four of us completely outside, my own, Hugh, Jenna, and Nigel's. if I remove those 4 because they're outside, we get a tighter cluster. And then this encompasses all of us with Joe's slightly at the bottom and Ari's at the top, which is the height. So I'm going to, I'll come back to this, but if I undo all the eye lines and then redraw them in, we have the view from this player. Again, obviously it's tighter because the cluster's tighter. Up from this player. And then again, across from this player. And I'll see what it looks like with him looking at the ball. You see, I think that's slightly too high, as I would say, because it's low. So I'll put his as a spread across here. So he's sort of I would say the widest spread. But if I put the magnifier over there, this particular calculated average, to my mind, backs up what a couple have said, that is the player in the background is on looking towards the tussle, not looking at the ball. And the 2 players to the left are looking in the direction of the ball where this calculated average is. So it's whether we continue on with judging this because the 4 choices are outside the average, or we put everyone's back in, which I'll do now, so we can see just really where the average moves to. And obviously it doesn't move a huge amount, as it never does when we have people on opposite sides. But it obviously moves enough pixels to make a difference to who wins this competition. So before we do any more votes, I'd like to hear everybody's opinion about what I've just done. And please, obviously, whether you want to see one person's out, one person's in, we can do that, and then hopefully come to a conclusion of whether we have a vote of individual selections being removed, which will obviously take some time, or you're happy to go with what we've done before, which is remove the people who are outlying the main magnifier. I hope that makes sense. I'll come to you first, Joe. What do you think of what I've just tried to explain?
I have to agree, Matt. And I'm looking on reflection of mine, I do think mine probably should have been a bit higher. So I'm fully in agreement with what you've done there. And if you want to remove mine, you can do.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's yours to be removed. So I'll explain, because obviously you've been away for a while on this. Is that
I agree with the ones on the outside to be removed.
Removed, yeah. Okay. And then really to clarify, yours at the bottom and ours at the top would be a balancing view.
Yeah.
And obviously with 2 removed, myself and Nigel, and then with Hugh and Jenna at the top, it sort of balances it out. But yes, I take your point. Thank you. Nigel?
Yeah, I think I'd go with a policy of removing everyone from outside the circle, even though that's including me. You know, I think it would bring the cross closer to where mine would, you know, where mine is anyway. I think it's slightly further over, but yeah, I think we should probably go with policy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Liam?
Yeah, I agree with Nigel on this, to go with policy, please, Matt.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Jenna?
Although I think it's slightly higher, I agree if it encompasses all the crosses. So yeah, I agree removing us all.
Yeah, I'll just do something. Here we go. I think it brings it ever so slightly away from your own, but yeah. Okay. Thank you. Kieran?
Well, I'm going to go a bit different on this one, Matt. I think because we haven't got clear eye views from the 2 players on the left, I can't be sure where that ball is. So to my mind, I'd actually leave them all in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I mean, obviously, by leaving them all in, you know, the average is very, you know, it doesn't move a huge amount. But it's, to my mind, it's whether this and the players of the competition will take this player's eyes as looking at the ball as opposed to looking at the players. As I said, with the 4 of us removed, to my mind, it looked like he was looking at the players, and it made complete sense. But yeah, thank you, Kieran.
Well, I'd agree with you, Matt, on that. I think he's looking at the players. I mean, to my mind, if I was going to move I'd possibly move one out rather than all four from the outside, but I think that would make an imbalance. So I'd actually prefer to leave them in because I think there is much more of a spread of where that ball could possibly be.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Hugh?
It's a fair point, to be honest, but I think even though it includes mine being taken out, I think getting a tighter cluster where the majority of judges agree is what we've done. And I don't think I think it's a good average where it will end up. And I think that's important. We've said that before too. So it's not, I don't disagree with it being where the ball would be if we take all four out.
Yeah, and we're not moving the average miles away from where it is at the minute. So I think that's important. Yeah, thank you. Alain?
Yeah, as Hugh, I would keep it to a tighter cluster.
Yeah, thank you. Ari?
Me as well, please.
Yeah, thank you. And lastly, Rene?
Yeah, I would remove the 4 crosses from the outside.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so after a good debate, we've decided to, for myself, to remove my own Nigel's, Jenner's and Hughes, which brings this calculated average into a tighter cluster in the middle from these 3 players. And for clarity, I will undo the lines we have from here, and I will draw some other lines which will hopefully help explain how we've come to this conclusion through the center of this calculated average, which is obviously the center of the ball, from these 2 players on the left, with this player here looking across, and there we have the calculated average. So Hannah, we've decided to judge at this calculated average with myself, Nigel, Hugh, and Jenna's choices being removed.
Okay, thank you. If you're all happy, then please click submit. Great, thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are 2375 and 1222. These coordinates will now be passed to the auditing company AZETS to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That now concludes the judging process. Thank you.